Hello, everyone. As we wait for students and families to trickle into the webinar, I will go ahead and get started with some introductions so that you all know who you're hearing from this evening. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining this virtual space from today. My name is Eva Bori. I'm an admissions officer in our Office of Admissions here at Syracuse University and a very proud Syracuse alumna. Firstly, on behalf of our entire admissions office, congratulations on your admission. You have so much to be proud of, and we hope that you'll consider joining the Orange family this fall. So you may have tuned into some of our prior thematic virtual sessions this April, and today I'm excited to introduce Kate Hansen, who's the director of The Source, which is our acronym here at the university for the Syracuse Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement. Kate works to tirelessly plan programs and activities that support undergraduate student research, and we hope that you'll consider participating in some of this research throughout your time here at SU, regardless of which school or major you're joining or hope to be joining this fall. So our status as a Carnegie Doctoral University with very high research activity designates us as an R1 school, which means that students can really contribute to discoveries, to groundbreaking research in partnership with faculty and staff on campus. So without further ado, I'll let Kate take the lead on the source session, and please know that you can utilize the Q&A feature on Zoom this evening for questions, and we'll be sure to leave room for questions at the end of the presentation and evening as well. Thank you, Kate, and the student panelists for your presentation this evening, and we will let you go on from here.
Okay, thank you so much and welcome everyone. We appreciate you spending this time with us. My name is Kate Hansen, director of The Source. I've been with Syracuse University for almost 15 years now and absolutely adore working here, working with our amazing students. We're super lucky to have three students with us tonight. These are Source Student Research Mentors. So these are students who have been research active, who are research active, and work in our office contributing to outreach, programming, all kinds of things. So I will let you introduce yourselves. Start with Skyla.
Hello, everyone. My name is Skyla. I am a senior here at Syracuse studying psychology with a minor in human development and family science. And yeah, I can talk just a little bit briefly about like what I do here at Syracuse in terms of research. So as Kate said, I work at The Source and I also mentor students with their research projects. So a lot of my research is related to ADHD, more specifically like in college students.
Fantastic. Thank you. We'll hear a little bit more about the specifics of that in a few minutes. Let's go over to Sila.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Sila Diallo. I'm a senior. I'm majoring in African American Studies, and I have a minor in political science from Brooklyn, New York. My research has primarily just been centered around Walter Rodney, a Guyanese Pan-African historian and scholar.
Thanks so much. And Lindsay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Burdon. I'm also a senior here at Syracuse. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a major in biochemistry and a minor in Spanish, and I primarily do research at the medical university that is right next door to Syracuse, and that is in a biochemistry lab where we're focusing on a protein in kidney cancer and seeing how we can modify this protein so that it stops the growth of cancer.
Thank you so much. So I will share my screen. Okay. Okay. So office name. So we kind of start. So The Source, we work with students in every major and every school and college on research. And as you notice, we have creative engagement in our name. So I like to start presentations by just kind of, getting everyone on the same page for, what is research exactly and how we think about it and define it, given that research activity looks really different depending on your discipline and your field of study. So generally, research, hopefully these images kind of convey, right, the kind of like activity of research is really different. It can take place in a lot of different places. But at its heart, research is simple curiosity, right? Wondering what if, why is this, issue here? How can we understand this X, Y, and Z better? How can I solve this problem, right? So it's a curiosity. It starts with questions, essentially, or an exploration of a theme. And then it's a sort of systematic exploration of those questions or themes, supported by some kind of evidence, right? And that evidence could be data, that evidence could be interviews or stories, that data could be artistic expression, right? So there's always some kind of evidence that's being gathered to respond to that question. And then we also say research is a conversation, because research is never done in isolation, right? A student is working with a mentor, a student is working with fellow researchers, but more importantly, the student is working within the broader context of scholarship in that discipline. So a student's research is always in conversation with what other academics, what other scholars, what other professionals or artists have also kind of worked in that area and have done in that area. So their work is responding to and situated in that context. And then the most exciting kind of piece of research for me is that it's participating in the creation of new knowledge, right? It's something new, right? Developing new ideas, new results, new creations, right? That previously did not exist, that spirit of discovery. And so I think for an undergraduate student, it's that step that's just so inspiring, because, you come in from, middle school, high school, we were kind of in the position of receiving existing knowledge, right? Learning existing knowledge, building your skills. And then through college courses, increasingly being taught critical thinking, problem solving, and then research really gives you a chance to apply that and kind of, use your voice to create new knowledge. So I think that transformation from recipient of knowledge to, creator of knowledge is a really important and amazing milestone that students can reach. So to follow up on that, I'm going to ask our students to actually talk a little bit more about the details of your research. So talk to us a little bit about, more specifically about what you do, kind of your methods, and just sort of your research journey. So we can go in the same order, start with Skyla.
Yeah, so as I stated, I'm a psychology major, and so research in psychology looks a little bit different from what we normally see in research, specifically when it comes to the harder sciences. So we're used to seeing biology research and chemistry research and how you're in a lab. And so for psychology, it's a little bit different. We do have our own labs, but a lot of what we do is online, and a good portion of the research that I've done here at Syracuse is recruitment. So working in my research lab, which is centered all around ADHD, ADHD in pertaining to learning, treatment, education. One of the primary things that I did when I began research was recruiting people for studies. So that looks like emailing people, making and sending out flyers to schools or hanging them up around campus, actually physically calling families to see if they're interested in participating in a research study. And then with that, after the recruitment process, if people are okay and they consent to doing the research that we're participating in, because a lot of psychology is human subjects research, we have a whole onboarding process where families or like people would come in, and then we would like go through the process, or even sitting with them on Zoom. We go through the process of like basically telling them about the study, and like telling people what they're participating in, and having people sign consent forms, things like that. And then they continue with their studies. And so some of the projects that I've participated on, we've had adolescents wear watches to track their physical activity, because we looked at associations between physical activity. So any form of exercise in relation to ADHD symptoms. And we've also used a app that you download on your phone to have adults track their ADHD symptoms and see if that there are any changes with them over time. So that's a little bit about what psychology research looks like when you are recruiting for studies. And then for my own personal projects, I do a lot of data collection and analysis. So it's a lot of just looking at data that already exists and then just crunching numbers and looking at associations between different variables and then putting all that together to see what types of results would be produced from it.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, let's see, Sela. A little bit about what you've
Yeah.
done.
So African American studies research at Syracuse is pretty diversified. You know, there's a lot of different students who are engaged in like different regions, specifically in Africa. So for me, my research was in the Upper Guinea Coast. And so that kind of related to me personally because that's where some of my family's from. But within that research, I was able to, like Kate kind of said, develop a system of analyzing and like reproducing ideas. And so also to add on to what everyone's been saying, you know, if you have a major that doesn't really seem like there's opportunities to research, that's like okay, because for the source, it really does open your ability to use anything that you kind of have learned prior to being in college and advancing on that. So for me, I worked with a mentor, which is a part of the source. You can, like Kate said, you kind of get to be mentored and facilitated through the process. And I got a really great opportunity to work with Dr. Horace Campbell in the African American Studies department. And so it was pretty easy because at Syracuse, Sims Hall it's you know, it's a nice little place, but some people, you know, have certain opinions on that. But it was kind of easy because within my major, it's kind of tight knit. You get to know all the faculty in the department as well. And so I was able to start in the summer of my sophomore year. And since then, I've built really great relationships with the faculty. So I think that those have been really great things that have come out of this research. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about African American Studies and the department in one. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you've done some really great archival textual work. So let's go to Lindsay.
So like I mentioned, my research is hosted in the Medical University, SUNY Upstate, that is right next door to our university. Something that appealed to me personally, being a pre-med student, was the fact that we had a medical school right on campus. We have a bunch of hospitals surrounding us. We have a upstate children's hospital. We have a veterans hospital. And so something that you should keep in mind when considering your research options is that you're not only limited to the professors and faculty that you have at Syracuse. Source is able to help you find faculty that are outside of the university. And so when I found my faculty mentor, it was through a biology fair that happened at the university. But since they were doing related work to something that I had already studied previously and it had caught my eye, I investigated it further and I reached out to the mentor, the faculty primary investigator. And I have been in this lab since, like Sela, also my sophomore year summer. It's been almost 2 academic years and then 1 whole summer that I've been in the lab, and some day-to-day techniques that I use being in a biochemistry lab is we do a lot of cell culture. So we grow the cells, make sure that they maintain healthy levels of oxygen and media, which is their food that they use. And we also do a lot of immunoblots, or a Western blot, which is a method where you inject protein into a gel and it is transferred and ran so that you can see different levels of protein expression within different cell lines, which can help us compare how a specific protein is acting within cancer and within normal cells. I specifically look at kidney cells, so that is what our focus is. But day to day, since my lab is more technical in the biochemistry realm, I do work with a lot of reagents and chemicals, cell lines, and things like that. So it is called a wet lab, since we use a bunch of liquids, basically, as compared to like a dry lab where people are using data analysis tools and they're working mostly on their computers and analyzing the results that some people produce.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think your experiences are kind of nicely highlight, yeah, a lot of the different ways that students can be involved in research. Okay, so now I just kind of move into the like who, what, when, where, and why of undergraduate research. So you all mentioned your amazing faculty mentors. So a student participating in research is always going to be mentored by a professor or a research staff member. Professors with labs oftentimes have graduate students and postdoctoral students who are also amazing mentors to our undergrads. So there's always that kind of faculty guidance piece. So, kind of, I think this, with this slide, I want to sort of express that there's no, two identical journeys through research, right? There's a lot of different modes of involvement. So, the student can kind of find the way that fits them the best. So, a student can work individually or as part of a team. A student can be, designing their own project or their own, creative work, or assisting a professor with a pre-existing project, assisting professor or research team with a much larger kind of ongoing project. Students can work with organizations in the community, with research centers and institutes, of which we have many, many wonderful institutes. So, so again, lots of different modes. When should students consider research? So you've heard, I think, most of our students say first or second year, sophomore year, they got started. So we really recommend starting early. That allows for, a real depth of experience and give students the kind of time to develop a level of work that might be suitable for publication or presentation, which is a wonderful way to share their work out back into that scholarly community. So students then, another win is sort of like students can do research during the academic year. Summers are also a terrific time to engage deeply in research. And again, that kind of duration of involvement really depends. And then where, certainly on campus, we're focusing on tonight, but there's a lot of off-campus research opportunities that we also connect students to. There's funded programs at other universities and organizations, research internships. Students can tie research in with study abroad. So there's definitely opportunities to take that research off campus as well. Okay, so then the why. So why should students participate? So again, I'm going to kind of go to the students. Some of you kind of started to share this, but yeah, what do you think are sort of some of the main benefits for doing research? Skyla.
I will definitely say figuring out what you do like about your field and what you don't like about your field, especially pertaining to research. So when I got into my interest in psychology, I think I had a broad idea of what I wanted to do, but not exactly what I wanted to study in the future or what I wanted to do research on during my time in undergrad. So I liked clinical psychology, which is what ADHD falls into, but I didn't know what specific disorders or like anything that I wanted to look at. And so luckily enough for me, the first lab that I joined was the one that piqued my interest and was something that I knew that I wanted to do long term. I had like overall great experiences in my lab. I'm forever grateful for being able to participate in research so early, and actually love what I did early on. Um, I also will say that there are some parts of my research or like research in general that I didn't have to do in my lab. So that I did later on, which I realized that I didn't really like too much about the research process. So in my lab, I did a lot of data entry and data analysis. But then when I did research at other universities, I did a lot of literature review, and that's not my favorite part of research, but it is still something that interests me. And so doing research has helped me figure out like what parts of the research project process that I like the most versus ones that I'm not too in favor of. And then also what specific areas of psychology that I wanted to like research in the future and take into my career. So yeah, I would say that's like the biggest thing or reason why research has been like super helpful.
That's great. Thank you. Sila, yeah.
Yeah, I think, for undergraduates, research is great because it kind of like I said before, it gives you the idea that, gives me the opportunity to interpret like knowledge at the collegiate level. And with the source, like you have really great peers, advisors, And, you'll definitely find a good mentor. Like Kate said, there's opportunities in pretty much at every level, for faculty to give you a good mentorship. So I think, being able to express your ideas in formal ways and have the opportunity to further maybe publish or present, it really does. It gives you a kind of an advantage as a scholar, and as a, just a person, an individual who can contain and reproduce knowledge. So I remember kind of when I first started my research journey, there was like a kind of a presentation on Zoom like this. And I was able to get the perspectives of undergraduates as well as graduate students who had kind of gone through this process, and they had given their different perspectives on whether it was very significant or if it was a little bit less insignificant, if they didn't really gain much, but most of them had good things to say. And so that kind of gave me a boost and that kind of that vigor to want to just do better as a student. And so really anywhere you are, as a student, obviously you're pretty bright and brilliant because you've gone into Syracuse. Don't hold back and truly try to find your potential as a researcher. I think the opportunities and resources, they will find you. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I like what you said about, it's not only about kind of being a scholar, a student, but also a person, like a lifelong learner. These are skills that, that really you'll take with you. All right, Lindsay.
Something that I benefited from doing research and definitely credit the research is learning how to become a better critical thinker. There had been many times within the labs that I've been in throughout my Syracuse University career that have overlapped with the classes that I've taken. And so one day I would be in the lab and we'd do a certain technique. And then in class, we'd learn about the long-term benefits of that technique. And I would be like, oh, I literally just did that yesterday. Or it would be the reverse, where I would learn a specific mechanism within the body and then see exactly how proteins are interacting within that mechanism. And it would be just groundbreaking for me. It would be wow, the things that I'm learning in class are truly technical and truly are I guess looked at, within the field of science and are talked about within the field of science. And these are things that are going to be helping me in the future be able to determine kind of what is impactful within the field of our study and how we can better medicine really in the long term. But I would definitely say that my critical thinking skills have improved greatly doing research, as well as just being able to problem solve. There's been, a lot of research is just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, just with slightly different modifications, because you're not getting the results that either you're expecting to or that somebody else has proved could be possible, but it's just slightly different now. And so being able to kind of not go crazy when you are stuck in that phase is definitely something that I should probably learn sooner rather than later, because I might actually go crazy. But definitely my problem solving skills have improved greatly being in various research labs. And also, I think not limiting myself to just one field. I do love biochemistry, and it's something that has stuck with all 4 years, obviously. But when I was looking at research labs throughout my undergraduate year, and when I applied to different internships and stuff like this, I make sure that I have it be known to my professors, my mentors, and any types of people that review applications, is that I'm not only limited to learning one thing. I really do love diversifying my techniques and my skill set. And I love learning new mechanisms and new molecules and new things in science. And so I think being a researcher has definitely deepened that within me. I have been able to obtain that knowledge in different areas. And so I think that's one of the many benefits of undergraduate research.
Well, thank you all so much for your thoughts. Even I'm learning things, even though I've talked to you so many times. So this, basically echoes much of what Lindsay, Sela, and Skyla have said. But the major benefits of applying that knowledge from the classroom to more real world problems and issues, problem solving. Lindsay just talked about. exploring potential career areas, as Skyla said, kind of figuring out what your strengths are within a certain area. Developing skills. I mean, there's a lot of practical skills, as Lindsay said, that you are picking up through research that are going to be beneficial no matter what your goals are, whether that's going into industry, going out in the job market, or if you're interested in graduate study. All students that do research present. The source runs presentation opportunities 3 times a year, so it's a great way to sharpen those presentation skills. Ideally explore something that you're interested in. And then that faculty mentor relationship, Sela had mentioned, was a major benefit of the research experience is the faculty mentor. It's someone that really learns how you think, how you problem solve, like really kind of gets to know you and the way you think. And that mentor is typically a very strong advocate for the student researchers that they work with and help them find other opportunities and advocate for them for next steps. So that's a fantastic benefit. So a little bit, more logistically about our office. So we're, the central hub for undergraduate research. There are a lot of other pockets on campus that support undergrad research, and we just, help connect those and connect students to those. So we, help students figure out their research path, how they're going to engage. We have the amazing peer mentors. We also work quite a bit with faculty to support their mentorship. And because, students can't do research without these amazing mentors. We're also a funding agency. So the university has invested significantly in promoting undergraduate research. So with that, we've developed 6 programs that directly fund undergraduate research participation. Research essentially takes time and money, right? So we're here to kind of help defray those expenses, right? So we offer these various funding opportunities. And then at the same time, we view sort of applying for research funding as applying for grants as another skill, a professional development skill. So we really support students through the application process for all of our awards and programs. And then, just as an institutional hub, we do campus-wide symposia 3 times a year. Those are super fun and engaging poster sessions with students doing posters and also interactive displays. You see Otto learning about shape memory polymers from our student Karen there. That was at one of our events. And then we collect data on participation and impact. Okay, so just to quickly, I'm just not going to spend a lot of time here, but just to kind of give you a quick sense of the array of our programs. So we've designed programs for early student engagement. We have our Source Explorer program, which is a very short-term hands-on research experience that's intended for the spring semester of your first or second year. We have an Emerging Research Fellows program for students, who really are deeply interested in engaging in research, and they know that in their first year. This last program has proven to be quite successful. This is a faculty research assistant grant program where faculty are getting funding to hire students into paid positions to assist them with their projects. So then, it's a win-win. The mentor is getting great support and the student is building their skills. And then we have more direct funding for student designed projects. We have a Bridge Award and fellowship, different levels of funding, and significance of the application process for those, but that's up to $7,500 in funding, and that can be used for summer support. So for a student to stay here or travel even and do research over the summer, for supplies, materials, conference or research travel. It can be used for payroll to support a student's time. So those are really intended to, to give the resources needed to pursue a significant project. And then we have a couple of specific awards for certain areas. And then presentation recognition opportunities, like I said, are really fun and engaging symposia 3 times a year. We send students to an ACC, that's our athletic network conference. We send them to an undergraduate research conference with all those universities. We have some kind of culminating recognitions and graduation recognition, and some annual awards for mentors and programs. And then I also wanted to highlight here, we've piloted this semester a class that we've co-taught with the library. So it's a 1-credit course designed to provide basic and effective principles of information literacy. So, how to navigate this very confusing and ever-evolving information landscape that we are in, how to use the library effectively. And then we also go into the research process. So basics about the research process, and helping students in the class understand how they can get involved. So lots of great guest speakers, and we recommend it for 1st or 2nd year students, and we are teaching it this fall. Okay, so that's our contact information. I think I'll pause here and see if there are questions. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate. So this was actually perfect timing. Surprisingly, we have not had too many questions throughout the session, but we did receive a question from Zoe. So I'll read that out loud. Is it much harder to start your own research than assist with ongoing research?
So I would say that depends on your discipline. So, in some fields, in the STEM fields, and, I would say maybe probably also in psychology, it is much, it's typical for a student really to attach on to an ongoing project. And students certainly, this is what Skyla did, carve out a piece of that work that is their own. But definitely, it's more common for a student to, to sort of develop as a researcher within a pre-existing research program. In other fields, absolutely, it's definitely social sciences, humanities, creative fields. It's more common for a student to really design their own project. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. And then we have one other question from Nate. Could you give some more detail into research involving business, specifically accounting and marketing?
Yeah, actually, so we have several marketing faculty that run marketing studies with undergraduate research participants, the Whitman Behavioral Lab. So students, work with faculty on those studies. And then I would say in the business area, the most activity does run through our research assistant grant program. So that's where Whitman faculty have their ongoing projects, and they're bringing students on to those. So we've had students kind of looking at, kind of financial aspects for startups, different factors that influence the success of startups. So a variety of topics there. Marketing faculty, look at the effects of different types of campaigns. That's a lot of data-oriented research. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. So we don't have any other questions at this point, but I do just want to take a moment to thank everybody. Thank you, Kate, our team of panelists, for your expertise and your insight today. I'm wishing all of our panelists, by the way, continued success in your research and discoveries. And I hope that they've inspired you as admitted students to consider research throughout your undergraduate studies at Syracuse, and just in general, experiential learning outside of the classroom, putting into practice what you're learning in the classroom, outside of the classroom. I will ask Kate one question that I did receive from actually a student at one of our most recent campus events. This was an engineering student, and the question was, can students engage in research in partnership with co-ops or internship opportunities on campus as well?
Yeah, definitely. So there is a co-op program that runs through engineering. And then, sometimes it's a little fuzzy between internship and research, especially in engineering. There's a lot of research-based internships. Sometimes students will, they'll be kind of combining that activity together, but sometimes a student, will spend their summers, one summer doing an industry, more professional internship, and then another summer pursuing research. So so I guess I could say it can be a little, research can happen through an internship, but students definitely do both as well.
Thank you, Kate. We do have one other question from Ian. Any research related to architecture and design?
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of engagement from our architects at Source. And so, architecture really bakes in research into the program. So, you know, the faculty are extremely research active and are very encouraging of students to design their own projects. So architecture students, so one example, this new Tyler Center grant, which was on one of the slides, that supports international research. We have a pair of students that are going to Spain to study the Alhambra for a site visit to study and research that site. And so, yeah, so some things like that. Students also work with faculty. And then the architecture degree actually has a directed research in the 5th year that every student does. So definitely a research active area.
Well, thank you, Kate. One question from Roman. Could any student research funding go towards the creation of machines or technology related to different topics?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So supply, yeah, that's kind of covered under supplies and materials. Yeah, so that runs the gamut. I mean, our funds have been used to buy like buckets of fake blood for a movie, and, you know, costumes and props. And then also, yeah, like more technical materials for like a bioengineering device or things of that nature. So yeah, it's a real range, the kind of materials that people use the funding to purchase.
Wonderful. So I think we'll give our guests this evening, participants, maybe another moment to see if there are any remaining questions. But in the meantime, again, thank you all for your participation. Congratulations again to our admitted students. Hopefully you've been able to attend some prior thematic virtual sessions or come onto campus for some of our admitted student receptions that were held this month. As we approach May 1 and in the meantime, and beyond May 1 as well, please stay connected with us, stay engaged. We're here to support you, here to advocate for you. So please reach out to us with questions. Office of Admissions, our Source Center, obviously, as well. And I'm wishing you all continued success as you wrap up spring semester, and go Orange. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye.